today I would like to do the next video for the Blogo channel, and as you can see I am at work, so if you hear any weird noises, that's because I'm at work. So I decided that this video should be about introducing myself to the YouTube community. Kind of one of those, hi, my name is Archy, I am an atheist kind of situations. And I thought it was important because my story is a little bit different than everybody else's in that I didn't come out of religion. I was actually raised in a non-religious household. We weren't antagonistical towards religion. I actually didn't even really understand what religion was until I got older, and did like a rebellious thing and joined a church when I was like, I don't know, 16 or 17. I knew my friends went to church when I was in school. They all went to church. I had a lot of Mormon friends. I had a lot of Baptist friends, and it didn't make sense to me then either. They would tell me things. I had a friend, I remember, she told me she'd been baptized like 8 times because she was a Mormon and she was baptizing her relatives into the Mormon church. And I just thought that was kind of ridiculous. Because I was like, well, what if your relatives didn't want to be Mormons? And she's like, well, what? So anyway, needless to say, I was not popular in school. But because I was raised non-religious, or maybe this is why I was raised non-religious, my family really focused on science and education and, believe it or not, a little bit of philosophy. I think my father kind of imagined himself as a rogue scholar of some sort. It wasn't a typical upbringing. It might be typical for a lot of us, but it wasn't a typical upbringing for like America. I know that when I went to school, I was much more advanced in science classes than the average student, only because I had been exposed to a lot of it, and so I already understood a lot of it, which was good. It helped me out a lot. But it also made me stand out because along with all of that, I was taught to think critically incredibly early. I was taught to question everything, which my teachers did not appreciate. I was taught to evaluate everything that was said to see if I agreed with it or not, because it was important that I learn to distinguish fact from fiction. And so if I didn't agree with something, I was real quick to either ask questions or point out how that was wrong, which again didn't make me real popular in school. But like I said, I really didn't understand religion, or really that our household was non-religious, until I got much older. And I did my little rebellion phase going through the church when I was a teenager. I also tried to convert for a fiance that didn't work out, for more than one reason than just the religion. But the religion was a big issue because it didn't make sense to me, and I tried, but I couldn't make myself believe and follow a religion that I was very not okay with. Because just because we weren't religious doesn't mean I didn't study religion. I mean, I had been exposed to a lot of different mythology by the time I'd gotten to high school, and long before I met this guy. So I was aware of the stories in the Bible, and I was aware of the culture of the Bible, probably more so than most people are. Most people being, not, Christians. I find that a lot of Christians have no clue in what context the Bible was written, and that aggravates me a lot, actually. And so that was actually a point of conflict for him and I, because I had a completely different understanding of the Bible than what he had, and our two understandings of the Bible would clash. I'm not saying one of us was more right than the other. I'm just saying because we had these two incredibly different viewpoints of religion and the Bible, we simply could not get along on that topic, and that was part of the downfall. So that was my experience with religion. Not positive. Yay. But growing up, I found that I didn't like religious people very much because they were all very hypocritical, and they were all very arrogant, and it seemed like religion was their way of being lazy. Like, religion gave them the right to not think And that really ticked me off, because I really, for a long time, had this viewpoint that religious people were just stupid. And so in my mind, for a very, very long time, I just believed that only stupid people were religious. And so if you were smart, you weren't religious. That was my correlation. Dumb people were religious and smart people weren't. Once I got out of school and into the real world and started meeting people who I would consider smart, who are also religious, really caused me problems. And it really made me have to sit down and reevaluate that belief that I had, which was good. That was a good thing for me, because I realized it forced me into the realization that just because you're religious doesn't mean you're all these stereotypes that I had built up. And I think anytime that you have to confront stereotypes, especially stereotypes that you're carrying over from your childhood, I think that's an excellent situation, especially if you can confront those stereotypes and you can realize that you were wrong. And you can accept that. The important part is that you accept that you were wrong, which I did. I accept that I was wrong about religious people. It still blows my mind, and it still baffles the hell out of me that intelligent people do believe in religion, because there is a component of religion that requires you to ignore reality. And as an intelligent person or someone versed in science, that's what you do. You examine reality. You know reality. So for someone who is a scientist to come up to me and say, yeah, I'm a scientist and I'm religious, it just kind of really warps my mind a little, because I can't find that overlap between understanding reality and completely denying reality. So I didn't even really know, I'm not even sure I knew what the word atheist meant, honestly, until my current boyfriend and I started dating. And as he was an atheist, and he told me that right off the bat, which was okay with me because I didn't care. I think I was still trying to be pagan at that point, which didn't work out either. I had lots of imaginary friends as opposed to one imaginary friend. Anyway, but I was an incredibly bad pagan, and I really wanted to be pagan because pagans get all the fun holidays, and it's a lot more fun to celebrate Yule than it is to celebrate Christmas, because Yule's 12 days long and Christmas is only 1. Anyway, take that how you will. But right off the bat, he told me he was an atheist, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but whatever. As long as you're not going to judge me, I'm okay with it. And he didn't. And so I'm one of these people that believes if you're a couple, you should have certain couple activities. So I was trying to find things that he and I could do together that were more in aligned with his interests than mine, because there was lots of things we could do that I was interested in. But I wanted to, I wanted to make it a fair relationship, so I wanted to do things that he would like. So I found our local CFI chapter on the internet, and we started going to CFI, and I met other people who were atheists there. It wasn't just my boyfriend, it was lots of people who were all atheists, and they were all free thinkers, and I really liked that whole term, that free thinker term, that really stuck with me. Which is very exciting for me, because I was like, all my life I've been trying to find the place where I fit, I want to be in the in-group for me. And then I find CFI, and there's all these people who actually understand how to think, and they can pick out flaws and arguments, and they're deeper than, oh, the Bible says, or God said, or Jesus loves you. And I really enjoyed it. I think I actually like going to CFI more than he does. We have lots of friends now from CFI, and all of them, I'm pretty sure all of them are recovering Christians. And that was a huge shock for me. I mean, the first realization that hit me when I got there was, oh, my father was an atheist. I never knew that, because we didn't talk about why we weren't religious. We just weren't religious. We still exchanged gifts, and I always had an Easter basket, but that was the extent. There wasn't anything beyond that. We didn't say prayers. There was no, oh, you should feel guilty because God's watching you poop kind of thing. And then I get to this place, and there's these people who are equally as intelligent as my dad, and they're all into science, and they're all into philosophy, and they're all into like all kinds of crazy things. And I was like, oh, I get it. My dad is an atheist, and I guess in reality I am as well, because I don't really believe any of the things that I'm doing religiously. I just like the pageantry of it all. And that's something I can really relate to Dr. Robert Price on, because, you know, he still attends church, not because he believes, but because he likes it. It's fun to him. And I completely understand. But so my significant other is a recovering Christian, and some of my closer friends now are recovering Christians. And I didn't understand what that really truly meant. I knew that you could stop being religious, you could convert from being Christian to whatever, but I didn't really understand what that entailed, because religion wasn't a thing for me. And I equate this to like someone quitting smoking or someone recovering from alcoholism, because it's the habit of Christianity that I think is the hardest part for people to kick, because the mentality and the beliefs and just the everyday things. Like one of our friends, I love him to death, and we have dinner with him all the time. And when we first started hanging out with him, the thing, because I'm mean, the thing that I loved to do was, you know, we'd serve dinner and I'd sit down, and then he would wait, he would pause, and it was an unconscious thing. He didn't even realize he was doing it, but he would sit and just kind of stare at his food and wait. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, we're not going to say prayers, I forgot. And I was like, why would we say prayers? Just eat your damn food. And so now that I know that he's expecting it, every now and then we'll sit down and we'll have dinner, and I'll be like, okay, then we have to say prayers. And every time he does this little, and then he gives me this evil look, and I so deserve it, but it's so funny every time. But I realize how mean that is, actually, the more I think about it, because I'm kind of playing on psychological damage. He's been conditioned to the point where it's hard for him to eat without saying prayers. And though it's funny to me because I have no idea what that's like, it does kind of occur to me that maybe that actually is like harmful or even painful for him, because he's not out to his family. And so, you know, he has to keep pretending that this is something that's important to him when it's not. And then to come to the one person who should be supporting him, and then I pick on him about it. You know, I really think, and it's because I have absolutely nothing to relate that to. I have no idea. To me, it's hilarious. To him, it could be really painful. You know, it could be like, oh my God, I can't believe I fell for it again. Or, geez, this is the one thing I want to get rid of in my life and I can't let go. So I think I'm going to focus on that on the next video, actually, is talking about the habit that I've noticed in Christianity and people trying to let go of it. But for now, I think that was enough of an introduction, and I kind of give you a taste of where I want to go here. I just want to relate how I experience the newly non-religious, because I'm coming at it from such a weird angle. I have no relation to any of it. Because I have no addiction, so I don't even have that much to relate it to. It's not like I've ever recovered from anything. So to see people trying to come out of religion, it really is an experience for me, and it's very humbling, actually. Especially since I didn't have to do this. It's very humbling to me to watch people do it, and it's just the amount of strength it takes to come out of it is amazing to me. But anyway, I will talk to you guys more in the next video, and check out my other channel if you like archaeology, and I will talk to you guys later.